Dear students of 6th semester, I just come before you after a long time because of this lockdown, and I hope that you are all well and must keep the motto of the time: stay at home and stay safe. Today I will explain you a poem composed by American black poet. Black means a poet belonging to the American Negro community or the community of the African Americans, that is Langston Hughes, and the poem is The Negro Speaks of Rivers. As you all know, before we start a poem, we must know something about the poet, and as I generally used to do in the class, I will follow the same procedure. I will ask you to look at the notes. There is a note on Langston Hughes in page number 372. You can see it from the book Poems Old and New. Okay, have you opened the book?
Yes.
So you see in page number 372 there is a note on Langston Hughes. I am reading out. You try to follow me, and the important lines you may underline, and I will not read out all the lines, only the important lines which will be necessary for you. I will read them and try to understand them. Now, Langston Hughes identifies himself with the cause of African American culture in the early and middle decades of the 20th century. So during the early and middle decades of the 20th century, that means in the initial half of the 20th century, there was a sort of new awakening among the black people who originated from Africa and living in America. That is known as Harlem Renaissance. And this Langston Hughes, he was one of the prominent advocates or prominent figures of the Harlem Renaissance, and he tried to expostulate the cause of African American culture during that time. His work is rooted in the African American experience and is part of the resurgence of African American culture in America in the 1920s and 30s. During 1920s and 30s, as I told you, there was a reawakening, resurgence, you can say, resurgence of culture. The African people, those who had been staying in America for quite a long time, they started become conscious regarding their culture, regarding their own identity, and they wanted to feel proud about it. They wanted to assert it, and they started feeling that they are, though different, they are very much a part of American culture, and American society cannot be something different from, or it cannot be seen in isolation to the African Americans. Or African Americans, they are an integral part of the American society. This movement, known as Harlem Renaissance, had Harlem in rework as its nerve center. New York was the nerve center of Harlem Renaissance, and there was a place called Harlem in New York, and accordingly the movement is known as Harlem Renaissance. Hughes and his associates, Ja Toomer and Sterling Brown among them, worked for the recognition of the African American identity and culture as part of the greater American identity. You know, as I told you, American identity cannot be viewed, excluding the African Americans who migrated to America from Africa and constituted an integral part of the American society. And all these writers, all these thinkers, they were working for the recognition of the African American identity. In American society, the white people, they didn't give that much of recognition, that much of, respect to the black community or the people belonging to the African American community. And they started asserting their own identity, and they started expostulating the fact that the African American identity is inseparable from the American identity, or their culture, which has its own individual or peculiar flavor, is also an integral part of the greater American culture. That is what they wanted to assert. Instead of being defensive about the color of his skin, the African American was exhorted upon to address his origins with pride. There was a discrimination. It was very severe in South Africa, against which Gandhi fought, Nelson Mandela fought. And also in America, even though there was the Civil War during the time of President Abraham Lincoln, and even though there was the Emancipation Proclamation by which all the Negroes serving in the households of the whites were made free, still they were discriminated against and they were not given the same right, same opportunity just like the blacks. So the black intellectuals, they started telling that they should not be defensive about their identity. They should not be defensive about their skin, color of the skin. And Americans should not discriminate against them on the basis of the color of their skin. Taking the lead in this was Langston Hughes, who writes in Theme for English B. There is also another poem by Langston Hughes, and the title of the poem is Theme for English B. There he writes some very interesting lines which are given here. You can see, I guess being colored does not make me not like the same things other folks like who are other races. That means he says that being colored does not make me not like, because I am a colored person, it will not make me not like something which is liked by the other people, those who belong to the other races. That means he is particularly talking about the American society, where the white people liked something. They had their own likings and dislikings. They had their own preferences. They liked certain things. And Hughes says that being a black does not make it impossible for him to like those things which the white people liked. Do you understand? So, in no way, the sensibility, the sensitivity, the power of understanding, the power of appreciating of the blacks are in no way that is different from or that is inferior to that of the whites. That is what he said. Now, you look at the next page. In next page, that is page number 373, you look at the initial sentences. and you may underline the portions which I am reading out. No need of reading the entire note. The important lines which I'll be reading out, you can underline them and you can again read them for your better understanding. Hughes focuses on the rich heritage of the African American people, their loves and hates, their joys and sorrows, their folk life. So he mainly focuses on the rich cultural heritage of the African American people. The African Americans, they came to America and settled there. Even you might have heard that the father of your former president of America, Barack Obama, he was also African. So they came, they contributed to the growth of American society. They constituted a part of American society, and in spite of that, they tried to assimilate with American society in spite of the fact that they were discriminated against. And it is a fact that they had their own culture, they had their own folk tales, they had their own problems, joys and sorrows, loves and hates. They were American, but they were also a little bit different because they had their origin Africa. So their likings, dislikings, joys and sorrows, to some extent they were also different from those of the ordinary American people. Also at the same time, they were very much an integral part of the entire American society. He contends that African Americans in America must not be viewed apart from their African ethnicity, and takes it upon himself to project this aspect in literature. He tries to establish the fact that the African Americans who are living in America, they must not be viewed apart from their African ethnicity. So they have their own ethnicity. They originated from Africa. They should not be viewed, apart from their African ethnicity, and he takes it upon himself to project this aspect in literature. And he wants to establish in literature that they have their own identity. They are in no way different from other Americans, but there is also certain difference, very peculiar difference in terms of culture, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of folklore, etc. Now you look at the third paragraph in page number 373. Hughes defines himself primarily as a social poet. He uses the American dream of success, as a major metaphor in his work. In American literature, there is a great amount of discussion regarding American dreams. That means they say that America has a dream, and people living in America, they have a dream, and the dream is to live a successful life. And the blacks in America also, are not separate from that dream. So you cannot think about an American society being very successful or being very, prosperous, eliminating or not taking into account the well-being or the prosperity of the blacks. He tries to say that he is a social poet, and he projects himself like that. He writes for the people of his society, and this American dream is a major metaphor in his poetry. The dream is presented as a mixture of fantasies and desires. So here American dream constitutes a mixture of fantasies and a mixture of fantasies and desires. What the people aspire and what the people really want, that constitutes the American dream. And in a nutshell, you can say that this is about leading a successful life. Every American should be able to lead a life of success. Now you Move to the next page, that is page number 374. Hughes' poetry, I am reading from the second paragraph. Hughes' poetry is simple and full of humor. This is a very important comment given by the makers of this note regarding the nature of Hughes' poetry. That is simple, you will find it very easy to understand, and also it is full of humor. Humor is also a very important aspect of his poetry. He points out that it is the ability of the African American masses to see the funny side that has helped them to survive oppression. So African Americans were subject to oppression in America. They were subject to discrimination, but they have that funny side to their nature, by which they have been able to withstand, by which they have been able to survive in that situation of oppression. His poems attest to this fact, whether it is the Ballad of the Landlord or Necessity or Note on the Commercial Theatre. Self-mockery helps the African American man to develop an ironic perspective and come to terms with what would appear to be insane circumstances. So the situation sometimes in America became so crazy, became so frenzied, that the blacks had to face a lot of difficulties in American society, and the self-mockery helps the African American man. This is criticizing himself, mocking at himself. This actually helps the African American man to develop an ironic perspective and an ironic attitude, and ironic way of looking at things develops from that, and it helps him to come to terms with what would appear to be insane circumstances. Actually, this self-mockery, self-criticism, it has helped the African Americans a lot to survive in a very hostile situation. It is sometimes humor that is too deep to be funny, but sometimes humor is very deep and you cannot just call it funny. It is really very serious humor. Now you look at the next paragraph. Next paragraph, line number 1, 2, 3, 4. Line number 4. He combines in his poetry simplicity and clarity with a deep-rooted fidelity to the African American sensibility. So, what happens in his poetry is a beautiful conglomeration, is a beautiful synthesis between simplicity and clarity, along with his faithfulness, his fidelity to the African American sensibility. He remains absolutely faithful to the African American sensibility, though you can find a great deal of simplicity and clarity in his poetry. See the next paragraph, first line. Hughes' work is based on the African American cultural milieu. This is just a repetition of what I have already discussed. Now, you go to the next paragraph and the next paragraph. And in that paragraph, you go to the line number 1, 2, 3, 4. Line number 4. Hughes looks forward to a state of affairs where African Americans can peacefully live as American citizens. As I already told you, there was a great deal of hostility, a great deal of ill feeling, inhibitions, misgivings, misunderstandings against the blacks. They had to suffer a lot in American society. And Hughes here, he wants to have such a society in which the black people can also live peacefully, side by side, the white people. They can live peacefully as American citizens, even as they retain their ethnic cultural identity, even though they have their own cultural identity, even though they have their own ethnicity. In spite of that, it is but natural to hope that they will live a peaceful life in America. So that is what he hopes. Now we can come to the poem, that is The Negro Speaks of Rivers. And before we do that, I will read the notes on the poem. That is also in page number 375. Written when Hughes was only 17 years old, the poem celebrates the rich cultural heritage of the African American. It was written when the poet was only 17 years old. Like the rivers which have been there since time immemorial, the African American is connected to all the major civilizations of the world. Rivers are very ancient. Rivers have been there since time immemorial. Similarly, the African American, their culture, their civilization is also as old as the rivers. And that rivers are very important, or they played a very important role in any culture, in any civilization. All the major civilizations, they sprouted, they prospered by the side of the rivers. Your Indus Valley civilization, your civilization on the banks of the river Ganges, Mesopotamia, different civilizations all over the world, they grew, they prospered by the side of the rivers. It is because of the availability of the water. Water is called life, and it is very essential for any community to survive, and without water nobody can survive. So rivers are very old, and according to Hughes, the African Americans are also very old. And he says, and he believes that African American is connected to all the major civilizations of the world. He has survived the rise and fall of civilizations and well survived social oppression in America. So many civilizations have been, wiped out from the face of the earth. So many civilizations are no more. We have nothing about the very ancient Greek civilization, the Egyptian civilization, the Mesopotamia civilization. We only hear about them, we only read about them in history. But according to Hughes, they have survived in spite of the fact that many civilizations have been wiped out from the face of the earth. And they have also survived the social oppression in America. In America, they were socially oppressed, they were discriminated against, and they survived that. But one thing we must also remember here, that the most ancient civilization in the world that is still surviving, that is the Indian civilization. And you must be feeling very proud to know that the Vedas are the most ancient scripture written in human history. So we should feel proud as Indians that we belong to such a culture, such a nation, such a civilization which is the most ancient and which produced the most ancient scripture in the world. Anyway, the African American has borrowed the life-giving essences of rivers, and his soul has become immortal like them. Just like the rivers are immortal, they continue to be a source of life. They continue to give regeneration, birth, growth, prosperity. They nurture human culture, human civilization, human society. Similarly, according to Hughes, the African American, he has borrowed the life-giving essences of the rivers. Rivers have this property of giving life. They are life-giving, and this life-giving property of the rivers that has been borrowed by, that has been taken by the Negroes. That means he wants to say that the African Americans or the Negroes, they have been very closely associated with different civilizations, and they have enriched, they have made different civilizations fertile, and that is what he says. And now we will discuss the poem, and when we will be discussing the poem, you also please, sometimes it will be necessary for you to also look at the notes, because some words and phrases may be necessary to be explained with reference to the notes. Okay, देखें केमती